Hello and welcome back to the second topic, fertilizers, in the third unit of National 5 Chemistry. Oh, look at this plant. It looks quite happy and healthy as well. Do you know why? Because it's getting all the essential nutrients that it requires for its growth, and it seems to be quite happy with that. We know that all living things are made mainly from the elements hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. Other elements required for growth are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. These are often referred to as NPK elements. Nitrogen is a component of vitamins, amino acids, and energy system within the plant which form its proteins. This is directly responsible for the increased protein content in the plants. And adequate nitrogen is essential for chlorophyll synthesis and efficient use of water by plants. Phosphorus is important for photosynthesis, respiration, and growth. It encourages roots to grow well. And if a plant is having less or is deficient in phosphorus, you can easily find out by looking at its young leaves that have turned purple. Potassium, on the other hand, is responsible for protecting the plant from diseases. And if you look at the plant which has got less amount of potassium in it, you can easily make out by looking at its leaves which have turned yellow in color. Now, where does this plant generally get all these elements from? As you could have seen in the figure before, that plants generally obtain these elements from the soil. But nitrogen in its pure form cannot be absorbed by the plants. Air contains about 78% of nitrogen, and it is very few plants that can absorb this free nitrogen from the air. So, the cycle that helps in converting the nitrogen in the air into usable nitrogen that can be taken by plants and animals and then returning it back to the atmosphere is known as nitrogen cycle. There are various steps in this nitrogen cycle which we will be talking about today. So, if you look at the nitrogen in the air, this nitrogen is absorbed by nitrogen fixing bacteria, which is present in the root nodules of leguminous plants such as pea plant. These bacteria, they are capable of absorbing this nitrogen from the air and converting it into nitrates, which are water soluble compounds and can be easily absorbed by the plant through its roots. Another natural process that helps in fixing nitrogen of the air is through lightning. And synthetic method of fixing nitrogen of the air is through Haber's process, which helps in manufacturing of ammonia, and, and this ammonia, when dissolved in water and reacted with various acids, forms the nitrates that can be taken up by the plants. Nitrates are taken up by the plants and it manufactures its amino acids and plant proteins. Animals, when they eat the plants, they get these nitrates, proteins, and amino acids in their body and they fulfill their protein requirements. These plant animals, they give out excess of nitrogen through various processes such as excretion, urine, breathing, sweating, and when the animal dies. So, when an animal dies, the body undergoes decomposition. Same happens with the plant animal excreta. These are decomposed by decomposing bacteria, and then denitrifying bacteria acts on this decomposed material, releasing nitrogen back into the air. So this whole cyclic process, it helps in maintaining the balance of nitrogen in the air as well as provides the necessary essential nitrates to plants and animals. These natural processes would normally ensure that the essential nutrients are recycled and adequately obtained by the plants and then to the animals. But various activities, which may be natural processes or man made activities, often disrupt these processes. As a result, farmers have to rely on fertilizers. So, what are fertilizers? Fertilizers are chemicals which restore these essential elements necessary for the healthy growth of the plant. Now, there are various sources of fertilizers. They can be natural sources or synthetic sources. So, if we look at the sources for ammonia, the natural process would be decay of plants and animals, and the synthetic process is the Haber's process, which we will discuss in a while. The natural process for nitric acid is decay of plant and animal waste, whereas synthetic process for it is Oswald's process. Ammonia and nitric acid are important compounds which are used to produce various soluble nitrogen containing salts that can be used as fertilizers absorbed by the plant for their healthy growth. Now, here we have name and chemical formulae of various fertilizers, which are often referred as NPK fertilizers, having nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. So, ammonium nitrate, ammonium phosphate, potassium nitrate, potassium phosphate. So, you can see here that most of these elements are obtained from these fertilizers. Ammonia. It is an essential starting point for production of many fertilizers. So, from the previous chapters, you might remember the molecular formula of ammonia is NH3, and this is trying to represent the structural formula and the electron dot structure of ammonia. It is pungent, clear, colorless gas which is highly soluble in water, and when it dissolves in water, it produces an alkaline solution. Being alkaline in nature, ammonia reacts with acid to give salt and water. So, when ammonia reacts with hydrochloric acid, it gives the salt ammonium chloride. Ammonia reacting with sulfuric acid would give the salt ammonium sulfate, releasing water. And another reaction could be ammonia when it reacts with nitric acid would give you ammonium nitrate, again a salt plus water. Now, talking about Haber's process. Haber's process is the industrial process to prepare ammonia. In this process, nitrogen from the air combines with hydrogen that is obtained from methane to form ammonia. Both nitrogen and hydrogen are mixed in the ratio of 1 is to 3. The conditions essential for the process to occur at optimum rate are: nitrogen is obtained from distillation of air, hydrogen is obtained from methane, that is also known as natural gas. The catalyst used in this process is finely divided iron. This catalyst helps to increase the speed of forward reaction in this. And the temperature at which this process takes place is between 400 to 500 degrees centigrade, and this process occurs at a very high pressure of 150 to 300 atmospheres. If you look at the equation, you can see that the process is reversible in nature, which means that nitrogen and hydrogen combine to form ammonia, while ammonia has a tendency to break down into its constituent elements, that is nitrogen and hydrogen. So reaction taking place in this direction is said to be forward reaction, and reaction taking place in this direction is said to be backward reaction. When this reaction proceeds, a state of equilibrium is attained in which the rate at which the forward reaction is taking place is equal to rate at which the backward reaction is taking place. Let's talk about Haber's process in detail. This is an industrial method for manufacturing ammonia. Nitrogen for this process is obtained from the air and hydrogen is obtained from natural gas. Mixture of the two gases is passed through a compressor which is maintained at a moderately high pressure of 200 atmospheres. The pressure is high enough to get a good yield of ammonia and low enough that the cost of the equipment is not very high. The compressed gases are then passed through the heating chamber, which contains iron catalyst beds. Catalyst helps to get the best yield of ammonia at low economic costs. Ammonia is best produced at low temperatures, but the reaction is too slow. So a compromising temperature between 400 to 450 degrees Celsius is maintained in the heating chamber. Manufactured ammonia and mixture of unreacted gases are then cooled, which allows ammonia to liquefy and removed easily. The unreacted gases are recycled back to the heating chamber to continue the process. Now, talking about Oswald process, this is an industrial process used to make nitric acid. You don't need to go into much details, but we will just talk about the reactions that are taking place in this. So, initially, ammonia combines with oxygen to give you nitric oxide and water. And then in the second step, this nitric oxide, being very unstable, combines with oxygen to give nitrogen dioxide gas. Nitrogen dioxide combines with water to form nitric acid and nitric oxide again. This nitric oxide can be recycled back to the second step. Now, the conditions essential for the process to occur at optimum rate would be catalyst, which is finely divided platinum, and this takes place at a temperature of 900 degrees centigrade. This reaction is highly exothermic. So once the reaction starts, then even if the heat is reduced, reaction continues because the amount of heat that is being released during the process is sufficient to carry on the process. So we don't need any external source of heat once the reaction has started. Ammonia combines with nitric acid to produce ammonium nitrate, as we have seen before in the reaction, and this can be used as a fertilizer. Now let us look at the percentage of element in the fertilizer to know which fertilizer would provide us the essential element in its maximum amount. So here we are comparing the nitrogen content in urea, ammonium sulfate and ammonium nitrate. So if you look at urea has two atoms of nitrogen, which is 28 atomic mass units, six atoms of hydrogen, which is 6 atomic mass units, one atom of carbon, which is 12 atomic mass units, and one atom of oxygen, which is 16 atomic mass units. So if we add this up, the total molecular mass of this would be 48. So the percentage of nitrogen would be 28 divided by the total molecular mass times 100, and this is equivalent to almost 58.33%. Now we look at ammonium sulfate. So first we'll calculate the total molecular mass of ammonium sulfate, and that sums up to 132, and percentage of nitrogen would be 28 divided by 132 times 100, and this gives you Finally, ammonium nitrate, the molecular mass for ammonium nitrate would be 80, and the percentage of nitrogen would be 28 divided by 80 times 100, and this gives you 35%. Of the three fertilizers, I would prefer to use urea as it gives me maximum amount of nitrogen or maximum percentage of nitrogen by mass. Fertilizers are not always good to use. There are various problems associated with fertilizers which we need to know. Many fertilizers are very soluble in water, as we have seen ammonium nitrate. It is very soluble in water and it can be carried along from the field to the streams where fishes may take it, and then it might bioaccumulate or enter into the food chain and be hazardous for us. If it rains, fertilizers are carried off the land into the streams, rivers, lochs. Due to the high nitrate content, algal bloom takes place and it might lead to eutrophication. What is eutrophication? This algae decreases the amount of oxygen that is dissolved in water, and this might kill various fishes and other marine life. High nitrate levels in drinking water also make it unfit for human consumption. So, this is the end of my lesson. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next topic under this unit. Thanks. Bye.